the 4 worst things in existence in this human experience will be fear, doubt, disbelief, and ignorance. Plain and simple. There's no debating that. These are the 4 worst things that we have to endure, in this reality. So, fear creates doubt. Disbelief exists because of ignorance. Plain and simple. So you can't believe something because you don't have enough knowledge to make a, intelligent decision. When you are in fear, you have doubt about everything that is pertaining to what you fear. So everything is in question when you have fear. These things, when they creep into your energy, these things that is basically festering up in you, will cause you to never be able to reach, true potential. Plain and simple. So, these things are basically, conducive to this system. So this system basically, it breeds fear, doubt, disbelief, and ignorance. In fact, it can't exist without them when you really pay attention. But these things are basically conducive to the system, and they understand that. Our lives as well is basically conducive to this system. And, if you understand that, your reality is basically based on what you believe and perceive. So if you understand this, then you need to control what people believe and perceive. If you do that effectively, you can control their reality. And this is what they have effectively done with us. And a lot of people are not understanding this, that your reality is being controlled because they are controlling what you believe and perceive. And they have done so since birth. You have been brought up in a system to where people have been programmed to push out a belief system. We are following a pattern that people who came before us have followed and have brought up and have built and made strong for us to follow as well. We are not following anything that we create ourselves. This is the system that we're following. And a lot of people just don't fathom that you are born almost as if, somebody put you into a maze. And the purpose of life is to get to the end of that maze. Some people will, some people will not. But you have to realize that you are one inside of a maze, and that outside this maze, there is, real life. There is stuff going on. There is powerful people who put this stuff in motion. And that if you can run the maze, you can be, stand with those powerful people. But first, you got to get through the maze. You have to realize, one, that you are in a maze, that this is a trap, this is a plan. This is, every turn you make, something is there to lead you to either the right direction that's going to take you out, or the wrong direction that's going to leave you, at a dead end. So unless you understand, one, you're in a maze, you're never going to make it out. And this is the problem. A lot of people don't realize how this stuff works, and that what you put into your psyche, what you put into your consciousness, what you perceive and what you believe is one of the main issues that causes you to be where you are. So us living in this society, we are bound by the rules of this society. We are, dealing with that, coupled with this illusion of freedom, that you have this freedom of choice and you're free and you can do whatever you want. It's an illusion. There are rules. And you are bound by the system and its rules, plain and simple. So then when you look at that and understand that, the direction that you are going, that you are headed, has been given to you. You don't have a choice when people are giving you multiple choices. You didn't pick none of the choices. All of the choices was given to you. So how are you choosing? If you understand what I'm saying. So it's like if I'm saying, if you want a car, I'm going to give you 6 cars. You pick one. You didn't pick any of the cars. I picked all the cars. You're going to pick one. So your choice is really going to be one of my choices. You didn't walk over there and say, I want that one. I gave you 6 choices. You chose from my choices. This is basically what's going on. So our choices that we have and the path that we can take in life has been given to us. And we have been following this path that we have seen played out, before us. So the whole pattern of you go to school, graduate, you get a job, you get married, you buy a house, you work till you die. You have kids, you work till you die. Those kids repeat that cycle, so on and so forth. And that's basically what the pattern is. And it's like within that, there are so many different what we call traditions. So, you buy a wedding ring, a certain carat, or you wear white wedding dress. You have this at the wedding. The bride wears this or the groom does that. traditions, we call them, but there are traditions that exist within so many different other families. They're not traditions. These are, choices that's been put out there for us to choose from. Things that we've seen people do, and we chose to do it based upon this system, based upon, how we live in this society. So these are societal things that we are choosing to go to school and go to college and work for these people for the rest of our life until we die, till we can't walk anymore, till we can't, even, go to the bathroom normally. And that's it. You die, your kids repeat the process, you start over. And this is it. This is what's taking place. So again, when we talk about manifestation, you got to understand that this is not something spooky. This is not something out of left field when you understand what manifestation is and how it's being used against you, every single day. So think about it. If you don't want people manifesting freely or understand that it's even possible, you have to control their lives. And this is what it's about. That control is really important. So we are basically, bound by the parameters of this system. And we can only do things that is conducive to the system, that fits within the system. Anything outside of it, you can't function. You can't function as you would want to growing up in a society where people have jobs and everything like that. So, before you turn 21, you have already been indoctrinated into a system that's going to determine where your life is going to go. So your future has basically already been decided for you, as long as you are on that train, plain and simple. So, you graduate college, you get a job, you're working. Unless you jump off that moving train, you're going to be headed in the same direction as everybody else, plain and simple. So you may be off track, so to speak, but you're headed in the right direction. That train is not going in the direction that you want it to go. Plain and simple. It's not going where you really want it to go, where you have freedom. And that's what it's about. So if you want people to stay in this one direction and follow these same trends and not, separate and be different, then this is what you're going to follow. This is the system you're going to create for people to follow, to just follow, school, work, marriage, mortgage, kids, die, and they repeat the cycle. So a lot of people can't fathom quitting their jobs or trying to be an entrepreneur, and automatically, fear is going to creep in, and then they're going to have doubts. They're not going to believe that it's possible for them to be an entrepreneur and be a business owner. And all of that is because they are ignorant as to what we're going to talk about in this video. Plain and simple. They have no idea what to do or that it's even possible for them to come out of their situation. Ignorance is one of the major things that keep people back. Just like the Bible says, people are basically going to perish for lack of knowledge. And not only that, the lack of the willingness to, grab this knowledge, to get the knowledge. And that's the thing, people are just so reserved and so, scared to do anything outside the box of what they have been taught and what they have been seeing other people do. So we follow what we see work, and we have that security and that safety and something that's normal. People who excel and do big things go outside the box, and that's why they are successful. Now, of course, you could be successful within the system, but you are never really going to truly be free as long as you have to get up and go punch a clock. As long as you have to get up and be somewhere that somebody tells you to be. How is that freedom? Somebody's telling you to be somewhere. They control your entire day because you have to be there at that specific time. It's crazy. So you're not truly free. And you understand what I'm saying by freedom if you have ever felt it before, to where you can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to be nowhere at a certain time. You don't have that lingering feeling in the background that 2 days from now I got to go back to work. You're not worried about money. You're not worried about bills. It's a freedom that you have when you are where you want to be at and you have the means to do what you need to do. So how all of this pertains to manifestation, and the reason why you don't understand this is one of the reasons why many people are not going to get to where they need to be, because it's something that is so subtle and just seems so normal. Remember, as I said before, things we call emotions is energy. So something that you have been taught to just call an emotion is actual energy coursing through your body, and energy that causes you to do things, to move, to react. And people look at it as just something that's just human and don't understand the power, that it really entails. So as I talked about before, in meditation part 1, before you can even begin to meditate, you have to understand that it's possible and not have in the back of your head that this is some kind of, spooky stuff that we're talking about. So to give you the example, as I talked about in meditation part 1, I talked about, sexual stimulation, how from thought you can have physical stimulation. And we broke it down to the science, how thought occurs first, and you have energy that travels to the hippocampus, down the fibers of the choroid plexus, to the fornix, which is where the word fornicate and porn comes from. Travels down your spine, where it hits your sacral nerve and causes an erection. All that from thought. You have every physical movement that you do. When you move your hands, everything that you do starts first with a thought, then energy that travels down the spine and allows you to move. And it happens faster than you can consciously perceive, but the thought occurs first. Telling you in essence that we are consciousness before we are material, because that's where it comes from, a thought, plain and simple. So it goes back to that whole notion when you're talking to yourself in your mind, who are you conversating with? People can't really even fathom that much. You can close your eyes and not speak and hold an entire conversation with yourself. And we do it all the time. But, it's something that is very normal that can seem crazy. But it's like, who am I perceiving? What am I perceiving to be able to ask this question? If you can wrap your head around that. So you have to look at it outwardly. And this is the subtle way that they use it against us. Because what we don't understand is everything that we are perceiving through TV and music is being put there to shape the reality that we live in. And this manifestation is happening, right now, all the time. So we can go back and we can look at the trends, and we call them trends. But trends are just, things that is put out there for us to later manifest. So we can go back to 2005 when people wasn't saying turn up until the song came out. Now everybody's saying turn up. So we can go back to where people wasn't doing all these certain dances and people wasn't twerking all crazy and so many things that wasn't happening that was created and put out there to shape the reality that we see today. So because we're seeing this stuff in mainstream media today, we're seeing it in real life. We're seeing people, language change, talking different, saying different slang words that, you didn't understand 10 years ago. And we can look at it and say, well, that's just the times. Times is just changing. But if that was the case, you wouldn't see an operator behind it. And that's the thing. It's not something that is natural. It is something that is being done to shape a reality, that fits an agenda. So in which case I'm saying it's somebody behind all of these actions. Somebody behind the hip hop action to get everybody twerking and dancing and rapping and what have you. It's something behind the action to get women out here on Instagram and want to be Instagram hoes or what have you, to keep the black woman in the position that she's in. It's an agenda behind all of these actions that's shaping the reality that we live in. So we can go from mainstream media, all the record labels only wanting to put out gangster rap, music that promotes violence and killing and drug dealing. They will look at the reality that we live in. We have manifested that in physical reality. So it's not something that we can look at and say spooky. It's happening every day. So now this is not something that is easy to do. When you understand to put a model like this together, when we're talking about this system that we live in, to put something like this together, what are we going to do to keep people stuck to it? You understand what I'm saying? So the system has to be created in a way that has us bound to it, to where we need it. And, we basically need it for those who, have to live here, who can't afford to live outside of it. And that's the key. The key is money. Plain and simple, money. The monetary system was created so that we be bound to the system. Plain and simple. And everything that you could want, all your desires, things that you want to do, eat, or what have you, is bound by that money. And they did this so that you would base your worth. You would base your present and your future off of how much money you have. Those who got more, sky's the limit. Those who have less, you're fighting. And that's what it's about. So now they can use that fact that you are down and you are low to control your reality. So how are they doing that? We see it. Music industry, hip hop. Flossing, taunting, making people jealous and making people seek after what they put out there. So the majority of the people you talk to are trying to do something to generate money to get something that they seen on TV. Plain and simple, to get something that they saw, to get something that they want because they saw it on TV, or they got their urge for it based upon this system which has taught you to want certain things.